I'm here with Matthew and Morgan to ask them about their new film, Noel. So, how long have you been filmmaking for, roughly?
Oh, quite a while. Probably, in general, about 10 years. But in terms of things that I'm actually happy with people seeing, probably about 4 years. So, yeah, we started out just kind of making our own stuff. And it's only really at this level that we've got, I guess, acceptable enough to be, to be able to actually show it to people, because it's, I guess, when you're making it very, very young, it's not going to be at the technical standard of people taking it seriously. And I guess when you've got sort of in your late teens, you're at that stage for people to actually watch it and take you seriously as a filmmaker.
Ooh, right. So did you have any difficulties in filming it, or did it go quite smoothly?
I suppose writing the screenplay in August was a bit of a difficulty since it's a Christmas film. So we came up with the plot whilst I was sat in Barcelona drinking a Peroni in the boiling hot heat, and then coming home and listening to Last Christmas by George Michael in August whilst writing the script. That was a difficulty, I guess. In terms of planning, I don't think there was really any.
There wasn't much.
Relatively smooth, I would say. Nothing more than average.
Right, so you talked about difficulties. Did you have any of those when you tried to find your actors or your locations? Or?
Actors just came naturally, because I've been working with John and Conor as long as I've been making films, pretty much. And then Morgan, I met here at college, and it was pretty much just immediate. I was like, well, I've got this script, and you're the only person I can imagine in the role, basically. So I was like, okay, we'll get you in. Locations, there wasn't really a problem. It all just kind of came in naturally without, like, exposing myself. Like, the house was my house, and I don't think there was anything else needed. There was just on location stuff, which isn't really hard to find because it is set in Ormskirk, so we just kind of put Ormskirk in it.
So can you tell us anything about the plot or the storyline or the concept?
Absolutely. Well, it's an interesting concept, and we like leaving it at that. Do you want to go ahead?
Well, it's a 17-year-old boy called Noel, and he's dealing with the passing away of his nana, and he meets this girl which turns out to be his first love. But I think that's all I can really spill, isn't it?
Basically he's going through this real rough patch in his life, and I make no secret in saying that I like to kind of write about my own experience as a director. I think it's really good when your films reflect your own sort of emotions, not to say that everything Noel goes through is something I've been through, but I kind of like to have it take on that metaphor. So basically he's been brought up with this idealistic view of like romance and stuff, and he comes across this girl. He's never really had any experience with girls, I guess, and he just sees her as this Marilyn Monroe, Gloria Graham type, like this classic Hollywood girl, when she probably isn't perfect, but he kind of just sees her like that, and the way he treats her with that respect, and the way that he's just so old-fashioned in his approach. It's quite comedic, but also quite touching, and
It's quite innocent.
you'll see the way it develops. But I guess just the whole thing just was interesting to write. I just think this sort of old-fashioned approach to things that have become like so modernized recently is quite refreshing to watch.
Yeah, it sounds really interesting. Are there any directors who have influenced how you've gone about making the film, or just your films in general?
I'm a massive fan of Martin Scorsese. I think the plot of this is definitely not his type of film, but I think there's a lot with the voiceover that was sort of influenced by him. And I really like Woody Allen as well. It's just this sort of hopeless romance type. That was based on my second favourite film. That's so specific. My second favourite film is Annie Hall, and a lot of the hopeless romance stuff was sort of developed from that. So it's kind of the way Alan writes dialogue is a lot like how I write dialogue, because I've watched a lot of his films. I kind of just absorbed that influence, really.
So what would you say was the most pleasing part about the experience or your work?
What would you say?
I think getting the scene right, I guess, like after, like there was lines that I just couldn't get over.
Yeah. I think Conor struggled with it more.
Yeah.
Conor, who plays Noel, the main character, he would do a really long line, get it right in one take, then say...
The shortest.
Yeah, then say, good morning, sir, hope you have a great Christmas, took him about 40 times to do. So it's like the most simple things he can't do, but the most complex things he can.
Yeah.
That's not excusable.
I think it's the most pleasing feeling ever, just to get that.
When you've struggled and you
yeah.
just get it done, it's quite a relief. It is a massive relief, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, so obviously you're all quite young, really, and was it difficult to get your films in these big places like Ormskirk and Liverpool?
Oh yeah, I always saw getting it out there as a young person as a bit of a disadvantage, because obviously we're not going to have the same. I found it a difficulty in the past when I'm a 15-year-old filmmaker, what was this made on your iPhone? No, but it's I feel like now I've got to this stage, it's almost an advantage, because the Chapel Gallery are really, really up for promoting the works of young filmmakers. I found out they've been working with other ones in the past as well. And the Plaza Community Cinema, I first started out probably in general filmmaking there, and that's how I met Conor, doing a filmmaking project with that cinema. So I feel like both places the film's getting screened at are just incredible places, and especially as they're independently owned, they're not like chain cinemas, they're bound to be doing a lot for people our age. And it's just, I contacted them and they were like, I want to see the rough cut, and they were delighted with it. So I think it's mainly to do with talent rather than age. I think if you're making good work, then you deserve to have it out there.
Right, so is there anything that you would change if you did it again, or try and do anything differently?
Get rid of Morgan.
Oh, you're not talking to me tonight.
Okay, wasn't planning on. No, I don't know. I'm quite happy with it. It's just, I think some of the lighting choices, some of the colour correction didn't turn out incredibly. I feel like what the others have said is we could have an extra scene or so. I'd have probably had an extra scene, but we didn't realise we needed probably an extra scene just to pad it out until 2 days before we were finishing it. So it was you can't just expect me to film, or this doesn't work like that. It's hard work. But yeah, I think I'm happy with it in general. I think it's my finest work, to put it quite eloquently.
Right, so do you have any words of advice for other filmmakers at Winstanley, or just other filmmakers?
Just get doing it. There's so many people that I know, genuinely a lot, that are just I want to be a director when I'm older, yet I've never ever picked up a camera in their whole lives. And what are you doing with yourself? Why are you hoping for a career in something you've not even had a go at?
I think it's confidence about your
It's the
work
confidence,
as well.
and it's the love of actually doing it rather than kind of being there to be rich and famous, because
You've got to have
that's not why you do it. It might be something you'd like, as we all would, but it's the passion and it's the love of it. And it's if your first work comes out and people laugh at it. I've had that experience, but it does get better and it does show. I feel like the way that we've gone through just kind of messing about, picking up a camera and just filming whatever, to this being shown in cinemas, it's just a massive progression that anyone can achieve.
Right, so we've got a clip in, so do you want to say anything about it before we play, or?
Yeah. So the scene is basically when Noel meets his first love, which it's...
She doesn't quite feel the
same.
I wouldn't say.
She doesn't really like him. She's really uncomfortable by him grabbing. Do you know, stuff that...
Yeah, so he's playing, he walks past her and he can hear the hymn Hark the Herald Angels Sing playing in her headphones, and he's like, oh my god, we like the same song, but really she's just got it on shuffle. It just come on a Christmas playlist. But yeah, the song is covered beautifully by Samia, who's a very talented musician. I've worked with her in the past several times, and so she did a cover of it for this because we couldn't use a copyrighted version.
No.
So yeah, that's basically it. They just kind of meet for the first time and he's kind of chatting her up, but in a very gentlemanly I say that, he doesn't do it very well, but he's trying to be quite charming, and it's really not working.
I think his innocence really shows.
It really shows. It really, really shows.
Yeah.
It sounds really interesting, so do you want to take a look at it?
Yeah.
Right.
That's Hark the Herald Angels Sing, that is. Oh, I love that carol. It was my nan's favourite, it was. Oh. I'm sorry, it was just playing so bloomin' loud in your headphones. Don't blame you for listening to it, like. It is an exquisite hymn. You know, it was first written in 1739, but the tune we all know and love today didn't come into effect until 1758, when it was adapted by George Whitfield to give it a more upbeat tone, you know.
Yeah, it was on shuffle. Brings back happy memories, I guess.
Hey, it's a nice evening. Why don't I take you for a nice hot chocolate? I know, I'll pay with my pocket money.
Sorry, I've got a boyfriend.
Oh, well, I hope he treats you all right. I hope he buys you a hot chocolate on a cold, bitter night like this.
Yeah, that's looking really great. You must be really excited about it. Is there anything else you want to say?
Is there anything you want
Is there anything you want to say?
It's going to go back and forth now, isn't it?
Yeah.
I just hope people enjoy it.
I hope people enjoy it, and there's a difference between, I assume it will, but there's a difference between people being excited about it and hearing about the success and going, oh, that's great, and then actually like watching it and it actually doing well. So it's just, you can't get too excited about the early stages and not be cautious about the later stages, but I'm sure it's going to go down well.
Hopefully.
Yeah, I hope everything goes well for you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think that's everything, so back to the studio.